Okay, so let's this time make the output section a little bit more visible. We will remove it at the end, but just for the time being. So let's create again a style. Document create element style, and then we say style text content equals theme, and now we can just set this up. Function get theme. It will return string, and here we will have styling. So first we will make a styling for output, and we'll just make like border 1 pixel solid red, and let's say text align center width 200 pixels, and I don't know, maybe that's enough. And here we can just say output class list add class output. So let's see if this works. Output class, we also have to append the style. So here we also append the style. Yep, and now it works. Okay, we can just maybe add also padding. I don't know, like 20 pixels. Just, you know, now when we are trying out if everything works, that we make this more visible. Okay, so the next thing we will do, we will create a state inside of a range slider integer. So let's make this. Where should we put it? Maybe at the beginning. Const state. And this is basically where we will keep track of what is the current value of each component, and later also some additional things. So we start with just making an empty object, but later what will be in will be, for example, number input 0, 1, for example, and the value will be an object again. So value, current value would be 6, for example, and there will be some additional things. And the next thing would be range, also first one, I don't know, maybe just 0. We will see how we will count. And the value, whatever will be the value of that one. And then some more stuff. So this is how it's going to look. But of course, we start with just empty state, and later we will populate it when we receive the message. So currently, we just create 2 of these components, and the components need to give themselves a name. And when they send us a message, they should also send us who they are. So they should tell us from whom the message is. So let's do this. Inside of each component, so outside of the function, we will create a ID constant that will start with 0. It has to be actually a variable because constants cannot change. And then we will create a name here. So const name equals, so this is a range slider. So let's just call it range minus, and then this ID. And each time we will also increment it so that the next time first time it will be range 0, the next time range 1, range 2, range 3, and so on. So let's do the same also in the input integer. So var id is 0, and then we make a name here, const name equals, and the name here would be just, let's say, input integer, and the same style, so id that we increment so that each time the component gets a unique name. Then we said that we have to call notify and also pass this from, which tells what is the name. Save, and the same we also do here. So we say from our name. So now let's just log the message, console log message, and let's see if this works. So I'm changing stuff in the range slider, and I get a message from range 0. And then I am changing the value here, and I get it is from input integer. But we broke something here. In between, I also changed something. I want to also rename the body to data. So I changed this here, but I didn't change it in the components themselves. So data is more intuitive. Let's call this data instead of body. So when we call notify, we call it with from, type, and data. And here from, type, and data. And then in the parent component, we receive from, type, and data. And then we set output inner text to data. So let's see if it now works. I saved everything, so let's see. Okay, so now it's not broken anymore. Everything is logging correctly. So what we can do now, we can finally use this state that we created and say, whenever we get a message, let's update the state. So we have to check first if we have a state for that particular from with that key. If there is none, let's create one, and we say state from equals an object with value, which is data, and else we just say state from dot value equals data, and then we can console log state. Let's see if this works. So we change, and console log is showing the state. The state has range 0 and the value is 3. So now let's change something here. And our state has two elements, input integer with value 6 and range with value 3. So let's change again. So now the range has a value 1 and input integer still has a value 6. So now we have state that is tracking what is the current value of both of our components. And we're always, whenever we're getting when the notify message is called, we here in the listen function that we defined, which is actually this function, just from the side of the component, it's called notify, but we're basically, when we're creating an element, passing the function itself And then when the component calls it, it literally triggers this logic. So it updates the state, and that's why we are constantly getting what is the current value of the state for each of the components.